Greetings, friends. This is Reverend Alice from the First United Church of Christ in Millvale. I'm so happy to see everybody with us today or this evening or whenever you have the opportunity to join us. And today, I thought I wanted to talk about worship, something we may do every week, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about what it is and what it means to us. As I was thinking about worship, I remembered a story that happened to me a while ago. It was before September 11th. And in pre-September 11th day, I flew quite a lot. One day I got on a plane and there was a child, maybe about 6 years old, and he was kicking up a terrible fuss on the flight. He was shouting, "You told me we were going on an airplane. This doesn't look like an airplane." The child complained. He had been expecting something different, like he'd seen maybe in the cartoons, where you could really see the wings and see the plane going. And then finally he yelled, "I want to see the pilot." I think he wanted some verification. The child and the scene changed when the pilot stepped through those cockpit doors and the little boy saw him with his sharp uniform on, complete with the pilot's wings on his chest. "Are you looking for me?" he asked the little boy. And the child just froze in disbelief and in joy. Now he could see that we would be flying. He jumped up and he was told that he could even go and look at the cockpit for a moment. "Do you want to do that?" the pilot asked. Well, the boy was so excited. In those days, you could do that. Children could take a look at the cockpit. His mom said yes, and he and his mom went. And while they were looking at the cockpit, the rest of us were getting seated. About 5 minutes later, the child came wandering out with an amazed look on his face, uttering, "I'm so glad I'm on this plane." And on his little coat was pinned a replica of the pilot's wings. He was in awe, and you could see it in his face and certainly in his demeanor. I'm very interested in the whole psychology of people traveling, doing something different, going somewhere, and how it might change us. So I looked around at the other passengers. There were some variations of reaction, but mostly we were all just getting to the airport, getting our bags checked, going through the lines. We were all just glad to be on the plane and sitting in our assigned seats. We were all content with a nice flight. We wanted a nice, uneventful flight, nothing unusual and nothing stressful. Since that is what we sought, that is what we got. The little boy had a different expectation. He didn't really want a nice flight. He wanted to feel that we were flying. He really wanted to see the pilot. And then when any of his friends back home saw him, he could tell them that he was really on a plane, and he saw the man up front, and he could even show the little wings on that the pilot had given him. I've come to believe that people in seats in the church are sometimes very much like the people on the plane. No, not that we have to go through security or we don't have to take our shoes off, but most of us want something nice, a nice service. Service was nice. Some might be stressed from a long week, and maybe they need calm. And that's good. "Seek and you shall find," Jesus promised. Think about it. The child on the plane came with some pretty high expectations, and he left with a face of wonder, having stood in the presence of the pilot himself. The same thing happened to Jesus when he went to worship, if you remember. It's hard to think of Jesus needing or wanting to go to worship, but he went constantly. And in Matthew, we're reminded that Jesus worshiped with his friends, and they were in the very strong presence of God. 6 days later, Jesus took some of the disciples up on a high mountain by themselves. And while they watched, Jesus' appearance was changed, and his face became bright like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. That's from Matthew 17, the Transfiguration. Jesus chose his companions, which gives me the idea that he had planned it. He didn't wake up one day, suddenly look at the calendar and say, "Oh my goodness, this is a Transfiguration Day, I better get going." He stopped doing everything, even helping others, so he could have his own heart ministered to. The place of worship was some distance away. So I think they had to plan. They had to figure out how they were going to get to the spot. And he had to come with his heart ready. How do we prepare? My guess is it's kind of easy to get so accustomed to it all that we don't have many expectations. It's good just to be here, of course. But I'd like to suggest that you demand or expect more. Come after praying, come spiritually hungry, come with some expectation that God might be speaking to you. Come willing. Come in and say to yourself, I wonder if I'll see the pilot today. I wonder if I'll see God today. And I wonder how this may change me. I believe the purpose of worship is to change the face of the worshipers. Now, one of the scriptures we read today was from 2 Corinthians 3, verse 17 and 18. It said, now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into the image and ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. That's wonderful good news, but it's very exciting good news. It's active good news. It's something unusual or different. Our faces then are not covered. We are shown the glory of the Lord being changed. God invites us to see his face so that we can change ours and we can share that glory. God can smooth wrinkles of worry and change shadows of shame into portraits of grace and trust. He can relax those clenched jaws of stress that we get. When we turn exhausted, he can change those eyes into glimmering eyes of peace or hope. How does it happen? Really, it happens through some form of worship. And so we might ask, what is worship? What are we talking about? I like King David's version. Oh, magnify my Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. That's Psalm 34. We magnify God. We enlarge our vision of God. We allow our perceptions to change because our sight can get so small in a world that presses in on us. It seems small by virtue of the negativity. We need a big view of God, since we often have big problems or issues or even questions. And I believe that worship offers that. God is in the business of changing our faces and therefore changing the face of the world. The change is his job. Our goal is not to make our faces radiant. Even Jesus didn't do that. The Bible says Jesus' appearance was changed, not Jesus changed his own appearance. Moses didn't even know that his face was shining in Exodus 34. We don't need to conjure up things. We don't need fake expressions or to make fake impressions. We don't need to pretend. We can come as we are and stand before God with a willing heart. We come willingly because we come willing to be changed and to grow, willing to let go of the situations in our lives over which we sometimes feel as though we have no control, and often that's true. Willing to believe things that can be new and different, willing to have hope again, and then let God do the work, or God lead us in that work at least. Remember the boy who went to see the pilot? You know what? After that, I wanted to go too. I've never been inside the cockpit of a big plane. I never really knew a pilot who flew those amazing planes. And I wouldn't mind a set of those wings, to tell you the truth. Paul told the Corinthian church to worship so that their faith would draw the unbeliever. David cites the evangelical powers of worship in Psalm 40. Put a new song in my mouth as song of praise to our God. Many people will see and will worship him. That's true. Our enthusiasm calls others to be enthusiastic. Our love shows others that there is possibility still for love. Our acceptance shows other people that they are acceptable. I was thinking about some of the enthusiastic things I have witnessed in my life. And here's a funny one. When I was living in a different place, there was there was an outlet near me that sold Nicole Miller designer clothes. And once a year, they would have a secret sale. And it was secret because they didn't advertise it. No one really knew about it. You had to be a regular customer or know somebody. And the day of the sale, the place was packed. No one saw coupons. No one saw it in the paper. And they loved the fact that you knew something maybe other people didn't know. And I think the enthusiasm of those who really wanted those designer clothes encouraged everyone. When we are enthusiastic, other people join, even if they're not sure. They pick up on our excitement. And that's a good thing. So I guess I'd ask, do we treat worship as though it's something valuable, something that we want, something that we enjoy, something that may indicate that others could find it valuable? We can't fix people, but showing them what God could do, loving them into the place where they are in God's care, that can lead them to transformation. I know it can. One of the years in my life that the most things changed, around New Year's, I made a funny resolution. This is my resolution. Lord, I am willing, and I might be wrong. Meaning the ways that I'd tried things on my own, I let go of them. I stopped being stubborn, and I was willing to see what God had in store. And believe me, friends, everything changed. The power of our faith comes from the power of our worship, whatever that means. Worship, our prayers, our devotions, our meditations, our thoughts, our deeds. Our good deeds and our welcome of others comes from getting filled up by that worship initially. And then it's an extension. No, it's not always the same experience. In the past year or so, things have changed. There have been times in our congregation where things have evolved. And maybe we have changed too. I know I have. I prepare for worship, I'd say much more specifically, diligently. And I can tell you that I do it mostly through prayer and personal worship. I begin by listening and hearing God, trying to hear God as God speaks your names. I try to see the faces in my heart and think of those I know or hope to meet and what God may want me to say to them, what they may need to hear. Imagine how your hope or your healing or your acts of forgiveness or enthusiasm would change your own life and change those around you. God wants that for you. Hope, enthusiasm. Our congregation has a unique voice in our community. And I think we're really just scratching the surface of what is to come. And this last time, we've been recently talking about community and what community actually is and what it means during these changing times. And we've heard from people from many different places because we have used the internet as a way of reaching out. I've talked to people from different areas of Pittsburgh, from Guatemala, once from Iran. People are hungry. And when they see us worship, when they see you and your enthusiasm, when you see your kindness, your hope, even your honesty in your struggles or questions, they can believe that God is there. It's not for us to say where the word goes. It's not for us to say what the answer will be. It's not like that. We don't know what lies ahead. But I thank God for where we have been, even more for where we're still going. I don't want to give up hope. As long as God is with us, there is hope. And I hope you feel that today. What could I guarantee about the future? About what's next? I don't know. Our mission will remain to welcome all, to share our faith journey in as many ways as possible, to give and to share and enjoy in all we do, and we will worship. If that excitement shows in our faces, then everyone will want to at least try out the Christian adventure. Maybe see the pilot too. And that is amazing. I guess I could even say pretty much guaranteed to one day have wings. Thanks for being with us today, friends. A little conversation about worship, but I hope in the next week or month, you have the opportunity to join us in worship. Whoever you are, wherever you've been, you know, when you share in a faith community like ours, you add to it. We want you there. And we are so grateful for the wonderful, wonderful people we do have as part of our community. I am very proud to be part of it. I keep you in my prayers every day. Again, thank you for joining us. And I hope I see you in person real soon. This is Reverend Alice from the First United Church of Christ in Millvale. God bless you.